came into today's film with a lot of expectations. To be honest, I don't really know how many of them were met. I can say with absolute certainty, though, that so many of them were completely hurdled by this movie. Before watching it, I had heard that Dead Alive, also known as Brain Dead in places that aren't the United States, was one of the goriest movies ever made. Well, I've seen it now, and I can tell you with confidence that yes, Dead Alive is one of the goriest movies ever made. Happy Splatterday.
You are about to enter a world of darkness. A world where life and death are meaningless, and pain is God. Woo! Hey,
Dead Alive isn't just gory. Dead Alive is downright gross. Usually the idea of gore is related to things like excess blood or viscera. Dead Alive features blood, viscera, pus, multiple urination scenes. This thing is truly a unique beast. Honestly, it's so ridiculous at many points throughout its runtime that it's hard to believe what you're seeing is actually real. It's got all the subversive, exploitative energy of something like a trauma film, but with a real budget and sense of heart behind it. Honestly, what I would compare Dead Alive to is the cinematic equivalent of something like a Gwar concert. There's excessive dismemberment, an on-screen birth of a zombie baby, giant practical puppets in use throughout, intense spew of bodily fluids. Those of you familiar with the Richmond-based metal band and art collective should know that all of those ingredients sound like they'd be right at home on stage with Gwar. That aside, though, the background of Dead Alive is almost as interesting as its obscene content is. The movie was directed by Peter Jackson. Yes, that's right. Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson. King Kong Peter Jackson. The Lovely Bones Peter Jackson directed this slapstick, grotesque fever dream of a movie. It was filmed in Jackson's native New Zealand with a screenplay written by Stephen Sinclair, Peter Jackson himself, and his longtime partner Fran Walsh. This movie has everything, a love story, coming-of-age themes, a scene involving a lawnmower and 300 liters of fake blood, Sumatran rat monkeys. I might be yammering, but I really don't have any idea where else to begin with this thing. I guess I'll try a little bit of a plot rundown, and then we'll spend the majority of the rest of the time talking about the kills in this thing, or just the scenes, some of the scenes that take place within Dead Alive. Timothy Balm, a New Zealand soap opera star, portrays Lionel Cosgrove, an awkward, stay-at-home mama's boy who lives with his controlling, insane caricature of a mother whose name is, I think it's Vera in this movie. I'll just say now that at no point throughout this movie does anybody really act in a way that could be considered realistic. So throw those expectations right out the door, because you're not going to find any of that here. He becomes acquainted with Paquita, a girl in his town who believes Lionel to be her soulmate due to a tarot card reading that she receives in the beginning of the movie. Lionel has to tread carefully in courting Paquita because of his crazy-ass mom, but they do try out a date at the zoo. Vera finds them at the zoo, but is bitten by an infected rat-monkey hybrid shortly thereafter. This infects her with a rat-monkey zombie virus, which then causes her to slowly degenerate and break down. Her skin peels off her face, her ear falls off at lunch, and then she kills Paquita's dog and eats it. Insane antics ensue with just the mom zombie until she's buried and then later rises from her grave to bite and infect even more people. Lionel keeps his zombie mom, a zombie nurse, a zombie gang leader, and a zombie priest inside of his basement before being interrogated by his Uncle Les, who wants to exploit Lionel for the inheritance he received from his dead zombie mom. Les's blackmail works, and he throws a massive party at the house, which, again, I'll remind you, has a basement full of zombies. And everything goes exactly the way you would expect it to. I even skipped the part where the zombie priest gets the zombie nurse pregnant, birthing a zombie baby. I skipped that part in the plot rundown, but it happens. As with any piece of excessive splatter fare, Dead Alive is incredibly creative and good-hearted. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of a more carefree Evil Dead. The acting performances are awkward. Most of the bloody pulp looks like raspberry jelly, and really none of the characters are all that memorable, but like, who cares? We're here for the zombies, the splatter, and the goo, so let's talk about it, right? Obvious spoilers ahead for Dead Alive if you haven't seen it yet. The first really memorable scene comes in around 30 minutes into the movie. This does have a little bit of setup that goes into it, maybe a little more than I would really like to see in a movie of this style. But around 30 minutes in, they break every casual movie watcher's cardinal rule, and they kill the dog. Lionel's mom, Vera, is in full zombie mode, and they discover her with just a mass of blood and fur on the bed. And she has this massive strip of furry flesh hanging out of her mouth. And when they pull it out of her, like, they kind of pull it out this way, right? And it's kind of like one of those magic tricks with all the tied up scarves. That's how long it is. It just like keeps coming and coming and coming out of the zombie mom's mouth. Following a few more scenes, and at around the 40-minute mark, Lionel injects his poorly embalmed zombie mom right in the nose hole. Actually, there's multiple shots to the nose. I don't know how effective it is to administer an injection to somebody's nose, but that seems to be where the needle goes every single time in this movie. He injects his poorly embalmed zombie mom right in the nose with a tranquilizer so that they can get her into the ground, so that they could bury her. Once she's in there, he gets attacked by some gang members outside of her grave, who all also get turned into zombies when his mom, Return of the Living Dead style, like, erupts out of the ground. When things start to look bleak, the priest character shows up, drops a one-liner, and starts to, like, kung fu fight all of the zombies, exclaiming that he kicks ass for the Lord. He proves himself to be telling the truth when he starts punching, kicking, ripping zombie arms off, beating zombies with the limbs of other zombies, and then eventually being bitten himself by a severed head, which, then he is tossed and, like, fully impaled on the extended arm of a statue in the graveyard. It's kind of got, like, its hand up like this, and you can see his body coming, like, around the arm with the hand coming up out of him. It's really, really nuts. My personal favorite scene in the movie takes place shortly after the zombie birthing sequence, when Lionel decides that he's going to take the zombie baby for a walk in the park. He has to grapple with it, keep it under control, and fight it, which looks pretty hilarious considering that the actor, Timothy Baum, is just wrestling a baby doll the whole time. He's just struggling around with a baby doll, shaking it, trying to act like it's fighting back when he's really just kind of tossing around a baby doll the whole time. It's not even a puppet. It's just a baby doll. In fact, any scenes with the baby, because there's a lot of them, especially towards the end of the movie, any scenes with the zombie baby tend to be pretty hilarious. It seems a puppet was used for a lot of the close-ups, but for anything full body, they went with either the baby doll approach, or they just like got somebody's 3-year-old kid to dress up in a onesie with a zombie baby head mask on top of it. It looks really, really funny, especially anytime it has to like run or walk around. So funny. And of course, no conversation around this movie would really be complete without mentioning the climactic final scene in the house full of zombies where Lionel picks up a lawnmower and uses it to blend all of the zombie party guests in a choreographed gore set piece so ridiculous you almost have to see it to believe it. All that being said, I don't think that Dead Alive is a good movie. Not necessarily. I would put it into a similar category that I put Toxic Avenger into last year. It's a movie with a lot of heart and a really, really unique execution, but not really in a way that I would consider emblematic of a good movie. I do like it, though, and I will likely watch it again at some point. In fact, I watched the last 40 minutes a second time this morning after watching the whole movie last night so that I could be ready to write down my notes for the video. I'd give Dead Alive a solid 5 out of 10. It's not really a bad movie. It's not really a good movie either. It's directly down the middle. But it does have the stipulation that if you're into horror comedies or splat stick style of humor, you should watch this movie. It is worth your time, even if you're not going to be bearing witness to fine art while you're consuming it. Next up on the list is our very first Supernatural Sunday of the month, with the film that we are watching being 1982's Poltergeist, which should be a fine palate cleanser after the obscene slop fest that was Dead Alive. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.